Onboarding Accelerator. Last week, we talked about how to get leads and the top ways to do that. This week, we are focusing on how to convert and win leads on platforms so you can start to build your business in a very real way. I'm Claire, I'm your host, and let's just dive in. So, today's purpose is the same as last time. It's to help you make the most of your first 100 days at Leland. Last session, we talked about how to get leads. And this session is all about once you're getting these leads, once you have your intro calls, how can we make sure that you win those leads? Once again, hopefully this will be tactical and you'll feel like you can walk away with some very concrete steps of what to do. As a reminder, and for anyone who's joining who was not on last 2 weeks ago's call, the three key things that we came away with after our last session was how to make the most of your first 100 days was first to do a profile revamp, which looking through a lot of the joinees profiles, I saw a lot of videos, I saw a lot of strong taglines. That was awesome, which will be very helpful as people continue to self-serve. The next, if you haven't already scheduled to host an event, although I think a lot of you on this call have either hosted or are scheduled to host in the next few weeks, make sure you get that. You can scan this. It will take you to your coaching profile to set that event up. Like I have always made it clear, if you have a question, you want to run anything by me, feel free to just message me. And then from after hosting an event, contributing to Leland Plus, all of those things together will help you on your journey to becoming a super coach, getting that badge, and also starting to win leads so we can actually use today's learnings. Amazing. So we'll finish up this welcome. I'll do a quick reintroduction for those of you who already know me, a new introduction for those of you who don't. And then the way that we'll break today down is in two major buckets. The first, which is, I'm sure you're already sick of me, running effective free events and how to actually convert those into leads. And then second is nailing the intro call. All of this is for a 15-minute call that I want to help you feel like you are ready for and that you know the best practices and ways to nail the intro call and convert leads into paying customers. So let's dive in there. And before we start, I think the main thing here is a lot of what we're going to be talking about is improving your sales skills and being a good seller. I personally felt like, oh, that feels a little bit like a used car salesman, and selling is inherently different than coaching. We want at Leland, we think of sales as a genuine and authentic way to show who you are, to help potential clients feel more confident with purchasing services from you, and to help you stand out and fill up your book of business. And so while it can feel a little bit weird to have to sell, that is the way to create these client relationships. And from there, you can feel empowered to continue coaching. As a reminder, I'm Claire. I do coach success at Leland. I'm here for all things success. So anything you need over the course of your journey, I'm always a Slack or an email away. I'm also a coach on platform. And before starting at Leland, I was a management consultant, did a stint in private equity, and was an investor in venture capital. And I'm just wrapping my dual MBA, MA in education at Stanford, where I'm a Knight Hennessy Scholar. So I coach across all of those areas. MBA admissions and deferred admissions being my bread and butter. I've tried kind of coaching across all categories with varying success. And for me, and what we'll see today is I figured out that my sales pitch is best for the MBA. And so that has been where I kind of have built my business on Leland. So to start, and we're going to gloss over this relatively quickly, I will be posting both this and last session. So all things events were covered there, but wanted to just do a quick primer and a reminder here of how to really run these effective events, especially if you have them coming up or scheduled. What are the main things you need to know to make sure that you can succeed in those? So to start, again, why host a free event if you have not already scheduled? It's a great way to find high intent audiences to show your coaching ability. It's literally high targeted marketing. So it gets you in front of the right communities and the people who might want to purchase your services, helps you nurture and close leads. I think I mentioned last session that, for me at this point, because I do such regular events, the majority of people coming onto my intro calls already kind of know me, and it can speak to having seen me on an event that I did and already kind of know what they're getting with me. And so a lot of what it takes is more of like a discovery type call as opposed to having to introduce them to coaching and to me as a whole. It'll show intangible elements, and it also gives a sense of urgency because you can kind of start to pitch and they'll see all these other people who are using your services as well. The quality of your events is directly it. We've seen that people who put more time into their events, who make them more professional, get more intro calls versus none. Working with clients who want free advice versus actually getting repeat business by establishing yourself with them. And then positioning yourself as a coach and a leader in the area is really, really important there too. Again, also getting more reviews is very helpful as you build out your platform. I think we've touched on this, but one of the most important things before hosting a free event, if you want to convert them to leads, is your preparation. So the more you prepare, the better the session will be for attendees. Even for doing an AMA or an office hours, having slides ready of who you are, what types of coaching you provide, and kind of general walkthroughs for the first 5 to 10 minutes can make an AMA feel next level and can help people actually feel like they want to purchase your services versus just using you for free content. Again, more professional materials will help people want to purchase your services and feel empowered to buy. And then it'll help you create content that you can give and repurpose with your clients, can continue to have these events, and will just generally be something that you can share with clients down the line. So it's all worthwhile. In terms of converting from events, there are three main things that we find have been really helpful. The first is having a very clear call to action, whether that's you want this event to convert to strong reviews. So at the end saying, hey, if you liked this, please leave me a 5-star review, or having an even more interesting call to action like message me after this and I'll send you my resume guide. Or, I've done a HBS essay event and we've said message us after and we'll send you some demos and some extra examples that can get you started. That will actually get clients directly into your inbox and take them away from just attendees that you don't actually have access to them. But they can get into your inbox to ask you for this resume guide, and then you can convert them into an actual paying lead is one of the best ways we found to turn that over. Another way is in this like scarcity sales mindset. You don't have to be so explicit about it, but really truly throughout the event, making clear how those things translate into coaching and how they've worked with your clients or how they've worked for your clients is a really effective way to make this transition in. And so being able to reference previous clients instead of just talking about the resume, how do you work with clients to improve their resumes? How do you work with clients to help them do these things? Will make sure that they feel like you are a qualified coach and that you're worth pursuing at a higher level. And then finally, and this one works great, especially if you use it at the end, which we'll talk about, using time-bound discount codes that are specific to the event. So for example, if I did a resume event, I might make it resume 10. And anyone from this event can use this code resume 10 to book with me in the following week. And that usually leads people to book sooner rather than later. And while you're top of mind, they will want to convert over because they won't want to lose that opportunity to work with you and to get a nice discount. And so having that ready, prepared before the event, being able to make a slide with it at the end that says ready to book, here's my QR code. Those things will convert people into paying clients in a much more strong way, but they still feel natural and not too salesy and not too kind of in your face, if that makes sense. The other thing, and I think there was actually a message about in the coaches Slack the other day, is don't be afraid to use the message attendees function as you work through. So once you've created your event, as you see the attendee numbers tacking up, usually like a few days before the event, kind of what I even did for this Luma event, sending a quick note to all attendees saying how excited you are for the event, providing any helpful context or notes or things that they can do to prepare or what they should expect before an event will make sure that you feel professional, prepared, and qualified. Even if it's just an ask me anything, you can say, please come with questions, or like, here are some topics that I'm planning to cover if you have anything additional. Being able to put that out there before will start this cadence where they feel like you're communicative, you have outreach, that you're on the ball, and it's very important. And then one thing that I think a lot of people do not use is after the event, you have the opportunity to message your attendees if you want to say, thanks so much for coming. I had an excellent time. Once again, here's my discount code. Please leave me a review. Anything that you think is helpful to engage with them. And again, you could have the most amazing event. If you just fall off top of mind and you never follow up, a lot less people are likely to convert. And so very important to just try to use that as you can. That's kind of all I'm going to speak to for free event. I want to pause for a second if anyone has any questions. I know I've pushed a lot of you to get events on the calendar. If anyone wants to ask any questions in the chat about anything I just talked about. Otherwise, the nailing the intro call is going to be very tactical specific, and we're going to walk through before the call, during the call, after the call, how to make the most of it. But I want to just pause in case anyone has any questions, thoughts, comments, concerns. Um, so these are both two awesome questions. What's your recommendation for free event length? I think it depends. And it really depends on your category and the type of thing you're doing. I generally find that content being about 30 minutes is good, whether or not you want it to be an hour event that you do 30 minutes of content with the ability to stretch for questions, Q&A, additional things. But usually if you're going into like 45 minutes to an hour of straight content, it can be a little heavy if you're not at least being interactive. If you're like somebody doing executive coaching during the week, very difficult to get people to RSVP to an hour-long event, but a 30-minute event they might totally be interested in. So I would test it out. I usually use my events as like A/B tests. Like I'll try one on a Tuesday at 3 p.m. and then I'll try one on a Thursday later in the day, and I'll start to see when and how long it will be. In terms of good discount codes, I'm very flexible. I personally like use discount codes very heavily in my coaching practice. I'm like very much happy to make money within like a 20% band of what I'm doing. So I usually will start around 10 is something that people really bite. Other people will just do like, hey, you get $50 off is a nice way to do it without accidentally giving people like hundreds of dollars off. 5 to 15% is totally fine. I don't think you need to be pushing into like these 20% offs or more. Generally, I like to use the discount codes to get people into the intro call. And from there, I'm selling them and booking them. So it's a little bit different, if that makes sense. And so no, they don't actually come with the setup of the event. You go, you make this custom code. Great answer. Thanks you guys for answering each other in the chat. And then you can post that. We'll talk about it for intro calls where those are embedded in product, but pre-event, you should go make your intro code on the intro section or discount code on the discount section of your profile, and then you can give it to people and embed it. I always just Google like free QR code generator, as you guys have seen from my calls. And that's how I make the QR codes that I would then put up in. And if you're ever having tech difficulties, feel free to just like message me. But yeah, recommended length 30 minutes to an hour, depending on what you're doing. Feel free to move and see. And then good discount code 5 to 15% or some amount like $10 to $50 off is usually a great idea. Okay, amazing. This nailing the intro call, I was making the section and I was like, oh, it's reminding me of Stanford Business School and all of the sales calls. But I actually do think that there is a very strong way to run an intro call here that will convert some leads that you might not even think are going to come for coaching into some of the strongest customers. I've had people message me who I was like, there's no way this person is going to convert, who after saying that they didn't even know what coaching was, after a 15-minute really targeted effective call, have been some of my highest paying, longest customers. And so like, first off, I want to just encourage you, take every intro call seriously. And want to walk you guys through some of the tips here that will hopefully feel very tangible to make sure that you succeed and that you can convert these calls in strong ways. So before the intro call, right when I get an intro call, like immediately you'll get the request in your inbox. I immediately go and I review any information that Leland has collected about the lead. So that comes in on the right-hand side of your inbox. I'm sorry, I don't have a picture of it, but basically if you go to the right, it will say their goals. It'll say if you sent them any recommendations. It will show any notes that have been collected about them or what they're focusing on. After I've read up on that, I go, oh, okay, they're like looking for MBA coaching. Maybe I have their target schools. I will send them a standard message to before my intro call to get their background and prepare myself for the conversation. I also use this as a litmus test for how serious they are and like to make sure that I'm not going to waste my time on a call that no one is going to respond to. So I send a message that says, hi, blank, thanks for reaching out. I'm really excited about maybe working with you on X. I might not even know what they want to work on. To help prepare for call, could you share a bit about your background? I usually will ask for like a resume or their LinkedIn to confirm that they're somebody I would work with. And sometimes I'll even go ahead and say, let me know what type of coaching you're interested in. And sometimes they'll say, oh, I'm not interested in coaching. And I say, then we're not going to have an intro call. It's been lovely. Continue on. But getting them to start thinking about that will help you prepare. And then getting those helpful materials so that you can come in smart and ready will be really helpful. And so that is like table stakes. I always do this. Frequently, they'll respond, they'll send me their resume. And at that point, I'll say, great, I'll see you at the call. And there's not much more to do until the call. Sometimes before the call, if it's like 2 weeks later, I'll say, hey, so excited, just want to reconfirm. But if they've confirmed, I usually let them and I spend my time preparing for the call. We've heard at Leland that there's been a decent amount, and this is just like what happens with all clients. There's sometimes no shows or trouble, or you feel like you're getting ghosted by some of these leads. And so I wanted to give you all a framework for how to approach before the intro call, making sure that you are reducing no shows and being protective of your time so that you can only go into calls feeling good and ready, like they will be a productive use of your time. So if I haven't heard back from those people 48 hours before a call, I will actually send another message. I'll say, hey, I just wanted to follow up. Looking forward to our meeting. Please just confirm that we're going to be doing that. If 24 hours before the call, they still have not messaged, I will usually reschedule the call if they're not going to do it. Well, I see a message in the chat. So no showing for intro calls, we do not charge, right? Because they haven't paid for it. There's no down payment. And so that there's no payment. In terms of your personal preference with clients, if they've already paid and you say up front that you have a no-show policy that is like one cancellation and you will charge, that's totally your prerogative. The one thing I'll say there is you have to pre-communicate that you would be charging your clients and they have to have already been it. For intro calls, if they're no show, you can report it, but otherwise it's kind of a lost 15 minutes, and which is why it's so important to do this confirmation. And then here, it's just if you don't hear back, I either immediately reschedule them or I even cancel them and say, let me know when you're ready. This is going to be really protective of your time and keep you feeling like you're in charge of your schedule, which is really huge as you continue to have these calls. Once I've gotten that information from them, I make sure that I prepare for each intro call. It might only be 5 to 10 minutes, but I make sure I go on to every call having a POV on what the client's strengths and weaknesses might be, thinking through what other people I've worked with or thought of who have similar backgrounds to them, and making sure I know what my existing custom packages and real packages are available on my account so that people can know what they can get from me and that I can be very clear on my sell. Also, know why you're the best coach to help them and be ready to pitch them. I usually spend 5 to 10 minutes before a call doing all this so that when I come in, I'm fully ready to do that intro call and to make the most of it. So that gets you to the call. During the intro call, there are many different ways. Well, I want to talk through all of these, but they're kind of the best practices boil down to 3 things. The first is listen more than you talk. I think of intro calls are not sales calls, they're discovery calls, they're conversations. It's all about asking questions, identifying needs, and figuring out what they need before you go into selling coaching that you aren't even sure is a good fit for them. After that, it's about selling yourself briefly and sincerely. And then finally, you could have the best conversation with the person. You can ask them all their questions, identify their needs, figure out that you're good. But unless you give the client clear next steps, which we'll talk about, either recommending an offering, giving them discount codes, or just having good follow-up messaging, it's really hard to convert them from somebody who thinks that you might be a good coach into somebody who they actually want to purchase from. So we'll talk about all of that, but these are kind of the best practices in one slide. During the intro call, like I said, it should feel like a discovery call. So I usually start my intro calls trying to gain a good understanding of the type of support that the client is looking for. You can't really sell your services if you don't know what they're actually needing. So I'll start with, tell me more about yourself in your own words, figuring out what they're aiming for. So for me, it's MBA coaching. I know that they're applying. Are you applying round 1 or round 2? What schools are you targeting? Asking them why they got interested in working with a coach can help you gauge, oh, they've coached before and they just are looking for somebody for this specific need. Oh, they've never done coaching, so I'm going to have to explain a little bit more about what that looks like. And asking them what type of support they need to get through their problem will actually help you articulate and decide what to present to them in a way that feels authentic, does not feel too prescriptive, but allows you to learn and then kind of navigate the conversation to make sure that you are giving them the best support and getting the best support as well. And then again, figuring out what their timeline is, distilling urgency, seeing if this is something that they want to do right now or it's somebody you should note and reach out to later. All of those things are really important to start the call. Once you've identified those needs and gone through everything, that is finally when I start to pitch. I do not pitch clients until I know what they're here for and what they need and what they want, because otherwise you're just kind of pitching on deaf ears. At that point, I've identified some similarities between my background and what they need, showing that I've listened. I'm not just doing my elevator pitch, but I'm like connecting with the real points that they've told me. I will drop in some success stories that have similar outcomes to what they're aiming for, or at least talk about people I know who have gone through those things. Anything that gives you kind of social proof and credibility. And then finally, giving a taste already of insights into their objectives to give expertise on the topic. I know some people get afraid of giving out free advice. Yes, the 15-minute call should not just be a Q&A with you giving them free information. But if they've given you and they've opened up and given you and articulated a lot of their goals, it's okay to start to show them how it would feel to work with you and to start to give them some nuggets that will make them want to work with you long term. At the core, any person in your intro call wants to know, how does this coach help people like me reach the goals I have? And can they help me reach the goals that I have? And to do that, you need to have goals at the center of the conversation and then where you fit into that narrative. So an example pitch or recommendation, which is important when we talk about those call to actions, is so, I've explained why I'm the best coach for you. I know what they need. Now it's about explaining how we're going to work together. So it might be, let's start by reviewing your resume. Then we're going to move on to networking strategy. And then finally, we can tackle interview prep as those invitations start coming. I'll be like, first, I'd love to get to know you, help you figure out what schools you're interested in. And from there, we can make a targeted plan for how we're going to tackle each one by one. Sometimes even on the call, or you can do it right after, figuring out the exact package or thing on your profile that is exactly what they should be purchasing, which we'll talk about, is so important. I've had people leave saying, oh, I can't wait to be coached, and I've not followed up. And then they're not going to go figure out, oh, I need 4 hours from Claire and purchase it. And so it's really important to do the same there. And so I suggest buying 3 hours. I recommend the 2 school package. And then finally, I don't usually do it directly on the call, but in theory, you could be like, right after, be like, okay, awesome. I'll send you the package right away. Once you purchase that, I usually will do something like, once you purchase that, send me your email and I will send you the materials that we need to get started. Something that feels very tangible, actionable. So all they have to do is follow your instructions is usually very, very helpful within it. Oh, that's backwards. And then just a few more strategies for how to close the deal. So like I said, creating urgency. It doesn't have to be insane, but I have before done things like saying, oh, I'm probably filling up in the next week or two. So, no pressure, but I would love to get started. Saying, oh, I only have a couple more spots, or saying, for people who are on a timeline, let's say that they are applying to a college or a job, saying, obviously we need to get started now if the deadline is X. Again, I love a good deal. So saying, oh, I've loved this conversation so much, or, oh, if it helps you decide, I'm more than happy to give you $100 off. And then capitalize on intent. So I recommend we get started now. Here's what I'd recommend. What initial post intro hour package converts most frequently? David, I'm not actually sure we have that. I think that's a great metric to be tracking. My understanding is it really depends, right? So for some coaches, it's like sending them a recommendation for 1 hour. For some, it's like a comprehensive package. It depends. Sometimes, you're doing career coaching, you're doing something where it's like more of a weekly thing, you're doing something big, comprehensive, like an MBA package. What I personally found is it's very easy for me to sell 3 hours. People like I've tried to push like a 10-hour package right away, and people, especially who aren't sure, will be like, oh, maybe. But I usually will say something like, let's start with 3 hours. It will get us through. Yes, totally sticker shock, but I'll say, let's start with 3 hours. It will get us through. I believe in my coaching ability. So I know that if I can get them through 1, 2, they're going to need like up to 5. But I'll usually say, let's start with 5 to 10 and we can go back. Another thing I've done in the past, which I actually think is quite helpful, is I say, oh yeah, I give bigger discounts as you buy more. So at 5 hours, I'll give a 5%. At 10, I give 10%. I say, it's okay if you only purchase 3 hours now. And I'm actually happy to prorate that discount as you feel comfortable and want to buy more packages. And so I feel very comfortable that once somebody buys even an hour with me, they are very likely to buy more because I think I'm a good coach. And so I am very okay to say, hey, like if you buy 2 hours right now and want to buy a package later, I will credit that to your package. So don't worry about it now. I just want to get them in the door and going. And so I usually will have bulk discounts from at 5 hours, 10 hours, and then more. But I'm, again, like I said, kind of liberal on it because once I get people in on one discount, I usually can just like keep them moving. So that's on the call. You say bye, it's amazing. The worst thing you can do is to not follow up. The most important thing, even calls that I've been like, oh, I don't think that was a great move. Like, I'm probably just gonna leave it because we didn't seem to click that much. I forced myself to send a post intro call message, and like intro calls that I didn't even think would convert end up converting to a couple hours or more of package because I sent it and because I sent the recommendation. So the formula is pretty simple. It's thank the client for their time, maybe even recap. So like, it was great to hear about your goals and the things that you want to do. Alex, I'm going to respond to that in a second, but you're correct. And then, express your genuine interest, saying, I really think that we could be great at doing XYZ. Share a little bit more details about what you'd recommend, and then provide the discount code. It's all about the follow-up. And the great thing is that now Leland has the infrastructure where the minute you get off the call, you can send a message. You can also create a discount code in your recommended offerings. But I almost always, unless it's very clear that they do not want coaching, you need to be sending a recommendation and a follow-up note. Otherwise, there's like no way you're going to close people. And so, like I said, these are the two places you can send it. So if you get off the call, immediately you can click recommend an offering. It will pop up there. And in there, you'll get to say, you can send them a follow-up message. And in the recommend an offering tab, if you haven't looked yet, you click an hourly or a package, and then you're able to provide a discount code there. I always change it to the like person's name and say something cute. So I say like, thank you, Sarah. And I give them 10% off. And in there, you can write a note and you can time bound it and say, hey, so great to meet you. Here's what I'd recommend for us working together. I threw in an extra 10% because I love the conversation so much for the next week. If you're willing to book, let me know if you have any questions. So yes, if you can go into your pricing, I'm just saying this, and like make the bulk discounts. This is probably bad advice, but I personally like to be able to really seem like I'm throwing actual discounts at people. So I've actually removed some of my bulk discounts personally because I like to be the one every time saying, here's 10% off that I am handing you with this custom code. Otherwise, you can just do a very easy bulk discount code on your pricing page, which is also totally fine. This is something I'm actually working on. I throw discounts around way too much. Like I just am like, oh, you looked at me, 30% off. And like it's just crazy. So no. You can have multiple discount codes for the same person/client. You can actually also just have a blanket like 10 off code that you always use that's like live on your thing. If we have time, I can actually pull up my profile and show you just like what discounts look like and how this flow looks, but let's just keep going. But we should have time to just pull it up and to go through the different ways that we can go through this. Again, send the recommended offering. You can recommend any package, show, and whatever you want. The most important thing, as I'm saying, is the follow-up. Yes, I can go over the best practices slide at the end of this presentation. Um, so in the follow-up, this is like really important to show the client that you care about them. We don't want to be like over eager and desperate. And so we don't want to reach out like insanely, but truly, truly, especially with some of these bigger purchases, clients are like juggling so many priorities and they might not be ready to purchase in that moment. But knowing that you're professional, that you can have follow-up is something that might convert them. So immediately after, like I said the recap, I send them the recommendation, I say, thank you so much, it was lovely. Then, if they have not confirmed, said no to me, the minute they say no, I say, lovely, have a good time, reach back out if you need anything, or like, is there another time I can reach out to you? And then I archive them. If they have not said no to me or responded, I will check in about 3 to 4 times in the next week or so, just saying, hey, just wanted to check in how you're feeling, how's it going? Reminder, I only have like a week left on my code, or like sending something that feels relevant to them. I'll look back at my call notes and say, oh, like maybe I'll mention something about this. But I reach out like the day after, and then maybe like 3 days after, and then the 2 days after that, and then I give up. But like a lot of the time, people are the like on that last message is when they do it. And like I said, if you haven't heard back, it's super easy. Like it doesn't need to be anything insane. It can just be, hey, how's it going? Just want to check in on you. Let me know if you're still interested in coaching. The other pro tip and the thing that I wanted to talk about today is that not enough people on Leland are using the sales team as their friend. The sales team, whether you've interacted with them or not, and if you haven't and you like at this get to the point and you need help, you can always message me and I can direct you. But the sales team is around not only to send you proactive leads, which we'll talk about, but they're also there if you are like close on the line with a client and you need them to come in and kind of like give you credibility, make you sound legit, and help you close that lead. So in terms of helping close a self-source lead, sometimes I'll have a client who's like really close to buying, but is just not sure, it's having a little bit of trouble. If you want help, you can message one of the sales team. So that's Rob. I can introduce any of you to them. It's Rob, it's Ethan, it's Luke. And I say, hey, I'm having trouble with this person. They're really interested, but they're having trouble with XYZ. And they'll either help talk you through, hey, have you thought about giving them a discount code? Sometimes they'll be able to help provide them a discount code to a boot camp or to get them like something else that will close the package. And they'll also message them sometimes so it feels really legit when there's like another person saying, oh, Claire's the best, like you can help her. On the other side, and I recommend all of you opt into it today if you haven't already, but we've just rolled out our sales assisted leads. So the sales team is actually also out there taking intro calls, creating the warmest possible leads you can make. They do those 15-minute sales. They identify the coaching need. They basically pre-sell the fact that coaching is the right answer. And now we have a process that the sales team can then hand those leads over to opted in coaches to help them close. And the sales team will be part of that process the whole time. They'll be messaging you like notes on the client to help you know what they need. Sales assisted leads account for 35% of all coach earnings and tend to be the higher conversion, higher spend customers. And so 10 out of 10 recommend doing it. I actually don't, I think it's best to come through me if you're having trouble first, and then I'll direct you to the sales team, Karen. But very easy to find, and I'm happy to help you connect with them when it's time and ready. Okay, that is the before, during, after. I want to pause and give you guys time to ask any questions. I've seen them in the chat. I can pull back up any slides or show that thing in my account if it's helpful to see what discounts look like or what the recommendation flow looks like. Otherwise, just happy to answer any questions. And then also, obviously we can give people time back as well.
I'm curious, Claire, this is Revital. If there is any different approach that you would recommend for LinkedIn leads because they are already, pretty much discounted. Should we give them more discount? A lot of them are also their intent to buy is very low. Is there any recommendation there, or is it just like, this is the way it is?
Yeah, I think that's an interesting one, especially with LinkedIn leads, like because they're coming also for like almost like a trial, less of like an intro call. The sell has to be a little bit different. The same holds still where it should be like very discovery call heavy, right? Like you want to be figuring out what do you need? What are the things? And so yes, we want to provide them the services that we've like said we would in the LinkedIn trial, but equally as important is finding those nuggets and using the time to like discover and deliver on what they most are interested in. And from there, we can help, from there, you can help kind of round them out and say, okay, that was an amazing time. I notice that you still want to be figuring out what your career progression would look like. Would it be helpful for us to have some regular sessions? Would it be helpful for us to follow up here and do this? I think like I'm not saying under deliver, but having and identifying something new and interesting for them can be quite helpful. Marsha, I'm happy to share my screen and show you those discount views in a minute too. But hopefully that's helpful.
Sorry, thank you. Yeah.
Oh my God, of course. Any other questions? I'm gonna pull up my discount view so that you guys can see it and then we can just walk through it because I actually think this is like so helpful to me. Again, I probably overutilize discounts because I just love to help and I love to coach and I just want people to work with me. But let me pull up the view really quickly so that you can see it. Coach. Okay. I'm like on my Arc browser, so I always have trouble finding things. Okay. Okay, this is spooky because you guys are going to see how many unread messages I have, but I promise I will respond to them all. Okay. So here's the discount view. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes,
Okay.
we can.
Okay, perfect. So this is one way that you can make discount codes. This is what I would do before a free event is I would come into the discount section and I would literally go and press add discount code. And so let's say I'm about to have like a resume event and I want to give 10% off. I would literally just like do resume 10. And then I would pick an end date like, okay, they have 2 weeks to do it. And then go through, you pick your fixed amount, you do whatever. And the code itself will literally be Claire R1 resume 10. And so once you save that, that is a discount code. You can go and copy those codes. You can also then see how many people have redeemed it. As you see, I send out a million codes and like whether people use them or not, hard to say, right? Sometimes they come and use them. These ones I've made for specific people, but you don't have to make them for a certain client. You can make them for anyone and they can use it whenever. So that's one way to do discount codes. The other way that I throw a lot around is in an actual client. Let's say here's this. So like this is a client I've actually recommended a bunch of things to. You could go and say recommend an offering. You say, okay, I like this is like the most bare one. Like even if it's just recommending a single hour, I think you should always be recommending something on the call. So let's say I just had a chat with Sarah and she's like, seems interested, seems that, but like isn't really fully bought in. I will go to hourly, continue. I'll type in 1 hour if that's it. Sometimes I will like go big and try 3, right? And then I go continue. And now you have the ability to attach a time sensitive discount code that is only for that person. So it automatically shows you what the new price is going to be here. So it shows, okay, a 10% discount applied, expires in 14 days. And you can go change it. So I can make it a 5% code, 15% code. I can make it expire shorter. And again, it's just a sweet touch, but instead of SSFZHO, I'll say like, thank you, Sarah. And then like I'll send it and you press continue. I hope I don't send this. And then I will attach a note. So great to meet you. Like to reach your goals. This is your best path, blah, 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 blah. And then I will press it send and then it will go straight to them. So those are the different ways that you can recommend a discount. And so you can either do it in your discount codes or you can do it through the sale. But I would say that in any single given like intro call, unless they directly say they do not want coaching, no downside to shooting your shot. And then you will just keep following up. And I message people a ton. And at some point, though, I do like to use the archive feature. If they do not respond to you after 5 messages, it's time to like after 3, 4 messages, it is okay to say, we're done here, it's over, and it be kind of call it a day. But that's what I'll say. I can send out this deck, by the way. So I will send out deck, I will send out video. I'm also going to be posting on our Coaches Corner both last sessions and this sessions. I have another 15 minutes if anyone has questions, even if they feel kind of specific to your coaching practice. I had one other slide that I forgot to show you, but basically it was just the idea that like our most effective and successful coaches spend time making their sales tools kit, figuring out what their secret sauce is, work to push packages and subscriptions and not just to sell 1 hour here and there, and to treat every single value lead as a valued sales prospect. Doing your preparation matters, presenting yourself well, being kind to people, offering recommendations and support, and following up should be table stakes. And you should leave every call having felt good about that conversation. You should have asked questions. You should have gotten to know a new person, and you should have figured out what their needs are. And if you're not the right coach, this is a great time to take it. Go to the Slack channel and say, hey, I have an amazing lead who's interested in XYZ. Happy to make that referral. Or go to the sales team and say, I don't think that this person is right for me. Is there anyone better for them or right? All of those together are kind of the toolkits that you need. But really, truly, a sales call is an art. It's 15 minutes, and sometimes you'll feel the need to keep going over, go to 30 minutes. Make it very clear that it is a 15-minute call. It's discovery. It's not a coaching call. If you give them free coaching, that's great of you, but it is not necessary. And what it is to understand who you are, introduce yourself, and to figure out whether coaching is a good fit for them and whether you are the right fit for them there. When I switched from saying, hey, like, I think you should, like, trying to sell to just trying to meet them and understand them where they are, that's when things started converting for me. Plus, starting to get people from events was incredibly, incredibly helpful. So those are kind of my tips. Those are the highest level. I'll be sending this out. And once again, the one thing let me pull up. If you haven't already taken advantage to meet me, I'm more than happy to meet any of you. I have a little QR code for my 15 minutes. I'm going to present it really quickly so that you guys can meet me if you want. We can take 15 minutes, talk through anything. I'm always available. This is my favorite thing. I love Leland and I love helping people. And so,
Hey Claire, could you really quickly just share the best practices slide? I just need like a second on
yeah.
that slide.
Okay, great. I'll get back to that. Give me one moment. So if anyone wants to get 15 minutes with me, feel free to scan this. We can chat, we can yap. You can answer all your questions. I can give you a profile audit. I'm very chill. I'm very easy to, I guess, I don't know if I'm easy to talk to, but I do love to talk. You guys can always follow up with me on Slack too if you want to get this. Let me find that slide for you really quickly. The best practices on which one?
On intro calls, I think.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, this is a good slide. This is a great slide. And then I just saw one more. So it says, can you clarify the 15-minute? Is this big enough or do you want me to present my full screen?
No, this is good. Thank you. Oh, okay, thanks.
And so in terms of, can you clarify the 15-minute call you're referring to the standard 30 minutes that's always shows up? Are those 30-minute calls like LinkedIn intros, Karina?
Yeah, they are.
Okay, so that's a slightly different. And so this is actually like an interesting nuance. So there's intro calls, which are people who are like on the self-service, and those ones are not fed through Leland. Those are people who come on, are looking for support and find your name and find your profile and then schedule 15 minutes. And so those are totally discovery calls. The 30-minute calls that you're likely seeing are LinkedIn trials, which are called trials for a reason. And they're for people, they're built to people as slightly more of like an opportunity to experience what coaching is like. And so in the same vein, which makes a ton of sense, those people are expecting to get some coaching. I would still use the beginning of that as an intro call. It also will include so I'd basically use like 10-ish, 15 minutes to do the discovery, right? Figure out what kind of coaching they want, what types of things would be helpful to them. And then I would pivot to showing them a little bit more what that actually looks like through the trial. And then from there, I'd probably end with the sale saying, okay, that's like 15 minutes of what we would probably get through. Let me know it. But I think it's like that one is a built-in discovery and they already are like expecting a little bit of coaching, and that's going to be the difference there.
So-
If you did like when you do your event, everyone who comes from the event will not be a trial. They will all be intro calls.
Gotcha. Yeah, thank you for that. So the part there, I only had this happen to me once, and this was more recent, that the person then said, hey, instead of signing for a package, can I just keep the half hour once a month because it renews once a month?
Yeah.
And I set a boundary there because, you know, that's not what that's intended to do. But I wonder if you had a best practice around that.
Yeah, I think some people will keep that subscription service, do the once a month, and like see if eventually that person will convert. You can try to make them into like a subscription candidate, and them wanting to come back for more is a great sign. It really depends on that. And again, this is a great one where like if you have that come up, that's like the exact type of person where I would just, you can ping me and I will intro you to the sales team who might be able to help like reach out to that person and say, hey, heard you had a great call and like we're interested in more coaching. They'll like hop on a 15-minute call with that person, hopefully, and maybe try to like move it your way in terms of getting you a little bit more. And so for the things you're just not 100% sure about, that's where the sales team could actually be super helpful. Like their whole job is to try to convert these people for you. And so I would say that is like a great way to go about it.
I love that. Now, you know, that explains the case for these, for when to involve sales too. So
Yeah,
I love that.
exactly. And like that's like the perfect one is like they can figure out what that looks like. They want to help you make those. And so that'll be perfect. And the clarification that I'm not sure if people saw in Slack is like if you found them through LinkedIn, if you source them yourself, there's no like additional cut. Sales is still there to help you close your leads. There's not like all of a sudden you engage sales and they're taking a bigger margin. If you have self-sourced it or LinkedIn trialed it, sales is there to help you in the same way they help when they pre-source, but there's no like additional margin cut or anything there. Yes, I've had success suggesting more timed opportunities, Camila said. And then Leland also does provide a conversion bonus. So if you're able to convert those people into getting any more time, you do actually get a little nice bonus as a result of being able to convert them, which is awesome. The other message I see is what are the demographics of people looking for coaching? Really, really depends. David, what category are you?
I was at McKinsey for 9 years in a technical role, so I do management consulting and product management, and then I also do leadership development.
Yeah, so you'll hit like fully different demographics across those two or those like three. What we see for like management consulting and other recruiting, you kind of get like people right at the end of college, and then you also get people early career professionals or people trying to pivot a lot of the time. Those are going to be ripe, so you'll get like kind of like young career people, but there's no real kind of like distinction. There's pretty much a good amount from both. And then leadership coaching, those are ones that I also really recommend doing events for, because you like they just aren't necessarily in the funnel yet. They come in for leadership coaching, of course, and then you develop them from there. So events are really important. Whereas some people who are recruiting for consulting came in the funnel to get college coaching, got into college, and now we're trying to get this. Most clients will use multiple categories on Leland. So like I have had people who I help get into MBA, and then they go and look for, okay, now it's time for me to break into a PM role. Let me go find a PM coach. Leadership would be the one that I would say is interesting because they usually come in specifically for leadership coaching. They haven't started off in a different funnel. And so that's why events will be really helpful for you to get those people in the door.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? I'm really always available and happy to help. I love coaching. I think this is awesome. I think showing up today is a great step, and we'll be sending out some follow-ups there. But if anyone has any questions, I'll stay for another couple of minutes. But thank you all for the time. It was so lovely. Thank you for the engagement in the chat. And I hope you guys have a great time.